The final week of the URC regular season is here, and in this video I'm going to be giving you my previews and predictions for all the games this weekend. The final week, the final round of games of the regular season before the playoffs. There's still a lot to play for a lot of teams. I mean, there's a lot of teams that have to win this weekend. Teams playing for a top 4 spot, teams playing for a top 8 spot, and some teams just playing for pride to end the season off well. But before we do get into this video, guys, if you do enjoy the content, please don't forget to like and subscribe to help the channel grow. The channel's grown so much recently in the past few months, and I really appreciate all the support. But let's get right into it. Starting off this weekend's games, we have Cardiff versus the Stormers. Now, the Stormers already have their place in the top 8. They're in the quarterfinals already. They have a chance to win the competition. But Cardiff is on the brink. They are in that kind of threshold where they're not yet safe. But if they get a win, they will be safe. If Connacht loses, they probably will be safe as well. But they're going into this weekend, and it's probably their first round of playoff games for them already. They have to win this game. It's a must-win for Cardiff. But will they win? I don't think so. I honestly do believe the Stormers team right now is maybe finding something. And remember, the past few weeks, the Stormers have really not been at their best. The past few months even, they've been quite average, to be honest. But now the Stormers are looking a little bit better. Some guys are playing some good rugby, and I think from a selection standpoint, they are making those better selections, which will help them going forward. But that being said, I just think the Stormers are going to win this game. I'm not going to say by how much, because to be honest, I could never get that right. But I do see the Stormers winning this game. The Stormers do play some really good rugby away from home. It's almost as if they try and impress their home crowd when they play at home, and they play worse rugby at home sometimes because they're playing for the crowd. But no, I do think the Stormers team will get the win. So I do think that Cardiff probably will be the one team that might just fall out the top 8 this week. I think they definitely are the team looking from the outside in that has the best chance of falling out the top 8. But moving on to the next game, we have Ulster versus Glasgow. Now, will Glasgow choose their best team? Probably. Will Ulster choose their best team? Yes, but Ulster have a lot of injuries as well. But that being said, Ulster are playing at home. They've just had a draw against a very tough Stormers team as well. This Ulster team loves playing at home. They're a very tough team to beat at home. That being said, I just think this Glasgow team right now, it oozes quality. I mean, this Glasgow team, they're number 1 on the table for a reason. They're a very good team, and I think they want to make sure that if they were to win all their games in the playoffs, that they have that home final. So I think Glasgow will be pushing for the win this one, and I think Glasgow probably will get the win. But that being said, I think this Ulster-Glasgow game will be a very good game. It's going to be a very tough game, and I think it's going to go down to the wire. So that being said, if Ulster does beat Glasgow, I won't be surprised. But if Glasgow does beat Ulster, I won't be surprised either. It's going to be maybe another draw for Ulster as well. That won't be the best situation for them. But I don't see Ulster winning this one right now. But I think it's going to be a very close game, and Ulster does have a good chance. But I'm saying Glasgow to win that one. Moving on to the final game of the Friday games. 3 games on a Friday. I always love those Friday games. Edinburgh versus Connacht at home for Edinburgh. Edinburgh is going to look to end off the season in a very positive way. They've had a very bad season this year. They've had a very disappointing season. If you look at their player pool, they've had a lot of injuries, and that's kind of affected them a lot in both competitions as well. I do think Edinburgh is going to try end off the season on a high to try kind of give their fans something to be proud of at the end of the year, give themselves something to be proud of at the end of the year. But that being said, Connacht right now are looking like a very strong team, and I've said it many times in the past few weeks. If this Connacht team manages to make the playoffs, they are going to be very difficult to beat. And I think this Connacht team, if they do make the playoffs, could be one of the top 4 favourites to win the competition. They're looking really good right now. They're playing some fantastic rugby. The whole team seems to be gelling together really well. I think Connacht's going to win this game. I really think Connacht is going to win this game, and I do think Connacht will make the top 8. I just have a sneaky suspicion that this Connacht team right now is trending up at the right time. It could honestly be too little too late if Cardiff does win their game, but I do see this Connacht team winning this game. I think it's going to be an absolutely awesome game because this Edinburgh team, they've been playing a bit better in the last few weeks, and this Connacht team as well are playing some phenomenal rugby. So this is definitely a game to watch. And to be honest, that whole Friday, that whole kind of the triple games on Friday, all the 3 games on Friday look like a really good batch of games to watch. I'll be trying to watch every single one of them. They are all at the same time by the looks of it, so I'm going to be going through all 3 games the whole time. But Cardiff has to win to stay in the top 8. Stormers want to try get the top points on the table. Ulster is going to try beat Glasgow. Glasgow is going to try end number 1. Edinburgh is going to try end off on a high at home. They're very tough to beat at home. And Connacht's playing some really good rugby. They're going to be pushing for the top 8 as well. So already a lot of storylines which could also also play out either way on Friday night. It's going to be a very important batch of games. Whoever did choose those games for that Friday night slot really did choose well, because there's so much going on there, so many storylines, so many teams playing for a big kind of purpose for the year, playing for a playoff, playing to end the year off on a high, playing for a number one spot on the table. It's going to be absolutely awesome for that Friday night fixtures. But moving on to Saturday, we have the Sharks versus Zebre. Now, I think the Sharks are going to win this game. I really do. They're trending up at the right time. Well, at the wrong time, but they're trending up recently, but it definitely is the wrong time of the season. But they've got some really good players. I mean, Zeketelo Siaya is playing some phenomenal rugby. I've said it many times, I'll say it again. I do see Zeketelo Siaya as a fullback, not as a fly half. Don't get me wrong, it's so good that he is comfortable at that level, that he can play fly half. I just think the best position for him going forward is either at fullback or wing. Like, if I was to see him in a Springbok jersey, which I definitely do one of these days, probably if it's sooner rather than later, will be on the wing. But he is so comfortable at fullback. He's so good under the high ball. He's so physical as well. He's so confident in his decisions for such a young guy as well. He's got so much pace as well. So he's definitely one to watch, which I'm very excited about. For me, the guys I'm really excited about is Ethan Adams, Marcus Miller, Chesil Uester, Zeketelo Siaya. Some really phenomenal rugby players. Jaco Williams as well. Edward van der Merwe is playing some phenomenal rugby as well. Dorenzo Julius had a phenomenal game. So yes, the Sharks have had a negative season that they haven't made the playoffs, but they've got a lot of positives from the season. In the fact that they found their leader going forward in Andre Estes, and they found these young talents which are just phenomenal rugby players that probably won't be in the Springbok squads all the time going forward throughout the next year or two. They'll be part of the under-20s. They'll be part of the alignment camps as well, which will just give them more game time in the Sharks jersey, which the Sharks need more players that can play more games for the Sharks more frequently. So that's a very big plus for them. Zebre, I think they're going to struggle. Look, Zebre is not a team to take lightly either. They can beat any team on the day. I think that's the nice thing about the URC this year, is that any team can beat any team on a given day. I just think the Sharks right now are playing some very good rugby to end off the year, and I think it's going to be no different this weekend. So I've got the Sharks beating Zebre. But moving on to the next game, we've got the Bulls versus Benetton. Benetton really did not play well against the Sharks, or the Sharks just played really well to kind of keep Benetton out the game. And I see the same thing happening this weekend. I think the Bulls are a phenomenal rugby team. They are absolutely full of class players. They're kind of trending up at the right time as well. Throughout the whole year, after this first batch of games where I think they lost like 7 in a row or 6 in a row, they've just slowly been climbing up and getting better and understanding how to play together. They've got a few combinations in every position which can play any game, full games, and be absolutely comfortable. They can put Villy LaRue at 10, they can put Andre Pollard at 10, they can put Curtly Orense at fullback. They've got my favorite player, Chesil Uester as well, Emrys Papir, who I think 100% is going to play for the Springboks this year, playing some phenomenal rugby. So they are trending up at the right time. They're going to look to get a really big win before the playoffs to show what they really are made of, and maybe try push for a top 8 spot. I think they can still do that, but either way, I've got the Bulls beating Benetton. I think the Bulls are just full of class right now, probably looking like the strongest South African team currently. Moving on to the next game, we've got Leinster versus the Ospreys. Now, Ospreys had a very good win last week against the Scarlets. I think they're out of playoff contention now as well, so they're just going to be playing for pride. But that being said, Leinster right now is playing some very good rugby. They are the one team that's really trending up at the right time as well. I know that I've been saying that a lot, but it is a bit of a trend with some of these teams that are probably looking as some of the favourites to win the competition. And Leinster definitely, in my opinion, right now looks like the firm favourite to win this competition. And to be honest, they probably look like they could be a favourite to win the Champions Cup as well. That Bordeaux versus Leinster game is going to be a incredible game of rugby to watch. So I definitely do think Leinster is going to beat the Ospreys. They are playing at home. They're playing some phenomenal rugby, and even if they don't play their strongest team, those guys that are in the second choice, third choice for Leinster are playing some good rugby. And also, Leinster has a very deep squad that can go all the way to their third or fourth option and still be one of the better teams. So yeah, Leinster's playing some phenomenal rugby. I don't see them losing this game. So Leinster to beat Ospreys. 2 games left. Second to last game is a Welsh derby. Scarlets versus the Dragons. I'm going with the Dragons for this one. I've been looking at the Dragons recently. I've been paying attention to the Dragons. They are playing some very good rugby. Yes, they've not been winning that many games. They've been losing a lot of games, but some of the players have really put up their hand this year, playing some incredible rugby, tough to beat. They're a team that's very tough to beat, playing against a team that's struggling as well in the Scarlets. Yes, the Scarlets at home in these Welsh derbies, I've said before, really just rise from the ashes, rise from the dead and play some phenomenal rugby. But this Dragons team is definitely a team to watch out for going forward. They've got some young guys coming through, becoming a bit of a young, underrated team in this competition. And I think they're going to, honestly, next year probably challenge for a top 8 spot, or at least go to the end of the season and still have a chance to end in the top 8. But this Dragons team's looking really good. I think the Dragons are going to end their season on a high. That being said, the Scarlets are not a bad team as well. They've had a bit of a disappointing season if you look at their player pool, but I've got the Dragons winning this one. They're looking very good to end off the year. They've taken some very good teams all the way to the 80th minute. I mean, that Stormers game as well. So this Dragons team is playing some good rugby. They are tough to beat, and I think they're going to win this one to end off the season. But moving on to the last game of the regular season, and it's an absolute banger. Munster versus the Lions in Thurman Park. I think it's in Thurman Park, but in Munster, it's going to be an incredible game of rugby. Now, this game has some implications as well, because both these teams are playing for a spot in the playoffs. They're playing for a spot to try play against some teams that they would prefer to play against in the playoffs that maybe aren't as strong as the teams higher up. So there's a lot to play for in this game. I've got the Lions winning this game. I think Munster's been struggling recently. They have not been looking like themselves. They've got a lot of injuries. They really seem to be struggling. That being said, they are a very tough team to beat at home. But I've got the Lions winning this one. I think this Lions team, they're a bit of a different team right now. Yes, they lost to Leinster, but the one thing they did do last week is they stayed in the fight, and they looked like a team that was competitive for most of the game. Now, the scoreboard at the end of the game didn't say that they were competitive, but if you were to actually watch the game, they had some really good moments in that game. And I just think for the Lions away from home, it's just about them putting that 80-minute performance together. But that being said, this could be the game that they do it to really boost them going into the playoffs. And I think when this Lions team does make the playoffs, they're going to be a very dangerous team to face. But that being said, Munster is an absolutely quality team. They have so many quality players. They are struggling with a few injuries, so that's why I probably will be kind of gravitating towards the Lions. But it's going to be a very close game, so I do think the Lions are going to win that one. But I'm just going to go over all the fixtures again and say who I think is going to win. So Cardiff versus Stormers. I've got the Stormers winning. I've got Cardiff falling out the top 8. Sorry, Cardiff fans, for that one. I just don't see them making the playoffs right now with the way Connacht is playing. Ulster versus Glasgow. I've got Glasgow winning that one as well. I think Glasgow is probably one of the better teams in this competition. They have been struggling recently, but I think they could change that this week against Ulster. That would be a big win for them. Connacht, I've got Connacht beating Edinburgh at home, but if Edinburgh do win that one, that'll be a phenomenal way for them to end their season. I've got Sharks beating Zebra. They're trending up at the wrong time. Oh, I've said it wrong once again. They're trending up at the wrong time, but they're looking really good with some of the young players. I've got the Bulls probably comfortably beating Benetton. They're looking really good currently. Same goes for Leinster. I've got Leinster comfortably beating the Ospreys. I've got the Dragons beating the Scarlets. I know a lot of people might not think that, but the Dragons are playing some good rugby. And I've also got the Lions narrowly beating Munster. But if Munster does win that game, I won't be surprised. So that's my predictions. Let me know your preview and predictions down below in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. So